AI is making content even more accessible and globally heard than ever before. Not only can you translate what you say into another language, you can also lip sync and make your content sound and look seamless.
AI 是我们能够与全球观众接触，难道不是令人凉气的吗? Ben birçok farklı dil konuşabilirim. Hayal gücüm gerçekten sınırları aşıyor ve bunun ötesinde. 実際には数年前にはそれが可能性でさえないと思っていたことを考えると. En we moesten handmatig stemacteurs inhuren om onze inhoud te dubbelen. Daarnaast moesten we personeel aantrekken om de inhoud te vertalen naar andere talen. 이제는 지금 손가락으로 클릭만 하면 몇 초 안에 모든 것을 완료할 수 있는 in a matter of seconds.
Just in case you doubted that Isabella can actually speak English, there she was speaking English at the end. You just heard a 30-second clip of Isabella speaking about 5 languages, and she's not polyglot. Welcome to the AI Tools for Creators podcast. I am Mike Russell.
I'm Isabella Russell, and this was quite amazing. I was actually wondering, I haven't heard this before you play this on a podcast, so I was like, so what language did Mike choose? Because I'm quite certain I've heard some Chinese in that, well, as in Mandarin, but also like Norwegian, or I don't know. It sounded really strange. So what languages were there?
Well, I was going to run the test on you to see how many you can identify. You did get one correct, so you spoke in Mandarin Chinese at the start, followed by Turkish, followed by Japanese, followed by Dutch, and finally we rounded it off with Korean.
Korean, my goodness, that's insane. So how incredible is that as content creators, we can all of a sudden access markets we would never think were possible. Now, I'm super fascinated by this, but let's before we dive into the conversation, let's talk about technology behind this, because it's very new. It's still as fresh, as you walk into the bakery and there is still a whiff of the freshly baked bread. This is kind of the technology we are talking about in here. So Mike, over to you. Let's talk about HeyGen.
Absolutely. So we're using an AI tool for this podcast called HeyGen to make the translations. And what is even more interesting is that this podcast is not only available in the English language, but we've used the tool that will, of course, be linked in the description or the show notes to this episode for you to go and try yourself. It's insane, by the way. We're using this tool to translate this podcast into Spanish as well. So not only is AI Tools for Creators available in English this week, it's also available in Spanish, thanks to HeyGen. And this nicely comes on the back of a recent announcement from Spotify, who are also doing for audio what HeyGen is doing for video with the lip sync. AI voice translation pilot means that your favorite podcasters might be heard in your native language. So they've been testing out with podcasters such as Stephen Bartlett, also Lex Friedman, and others to do a limited trial of translating their podcasts into languages such as Spanish, French, and German. I think we're on the edge, on the cusp of our content being available worldwide in every language you could imagine, Isabella.
I think that's actually great. So I would like to consider an option here that goes a little bit beyond the content, because we quite often think with the, hat of a content creator and like, oh yeah, isn't that great for podcasts? But actually just let's consider wider implications of like general education. There are places that really, struggle with good quality education. It's very difficult to get good teachers, and so on. Isn't it amazing that content could reach really niches, or places that really struggle with that, or good knowledge of English. I'm quite certain that there are some, niches where maybe you have, a few scientists in the world that do some incredible research on something very unique, and all of a sudden, their research could be more widely understood by so many more other researchers, and therefore, propel hopefully the growth of really amazing developments as a result. But I think it's interesting, and I will be curious to see how actual creators use that and what are the success stories, because I think that we haven't had this technology long enough to know what is the success story of this, right? How does that work? So, okay, if there is this really well-known person that is doing something in English and all of a sudden the content pops up in Korea, like it's great for them. The metric will take time, I guess, to arrive.
You're absolutely right. And this is something that we've seen in the past requiring a lot of different people, because what is happening under the hood? So what is HeyGen that we're featuring in this particular episode? What is it doing? You are taking a video of minimum 30 seconds long, uploading it to the service. It is then transcribing what you've said in your native language, then taking that transcript, translating it into the new language you select, cloning your voice, and then reading back that translated transcript in another language. And not only is it doing all of that, but it's synchronizing your lips using advanced, I guess I can only call them deep fake techniques, to make you seem like you're speaking natively that language, just like we saw with the example with Isabella at the start. And so this is, we heard Isabella in Mandarin, Turkish, in Japanese, Dutch, and Korean. It also supports English American, English in your native accent, whatever that means, like British, I suppose, Spanish, French, Hindi, Italian, German, Polish, Portuguese. Now, I, on a personal level, have used this to address my audience on YouTube in Hindi, as I have a large audience in India, and I had some great success, some lovely comments from people who speak Hindi saying, this is fantastic, thank you so much. So I've already experienced that. But I've seen other creators do this the traditional route, where they go and get human translators and they get people to dub their voices. So obviously one of the most amazing content creators in the world, MrBeast, has done it himself, but the traditional way, not the AI way. He started up MrBeast in Espanol. It has 24.5 million subscribers. MrBeast Brazil, obviously in Portuguese, 5.97 million subscribers. And what MrBeast has been doing for those channels is getting voice actors to actually dub in sync with the content that's on his channel. So I guess the old school voice dubbing way. And I remember listening to an interview with MrBeast where he said, actually, it's really cool because either the Spanish or the Portuguese version, we got the voice of Spider-Man in that country to be me. So everyone was like, hey, you're Spider-Man kind of thing. So that's really cool. Now, obviously, there's considerations here on the ethics again, Isabella, as there always are with AI tools. It's like that is done now. That industry is dead. Dubbing is gone. Voice acting is taking a huge hit, as we know right now. But we are on the positive side, or at least I usually am. Sometimes you're on the hang on a second, slow things down side, but I'm on the positive side. This makes our content more accessible, and it allows small creators who would never have had the budget of a MrBeast to translate and transcribe their content into multiple different languages. I think this is really exciting. And of course, in analytics, we can get feedback as to which countries are tuning in. And specifically on YouTube as well, we'll get feedback on what subtitles are people picking. So if we suddenly see, hey, there's a large proportion of people watching my videos with French subtitles on, I should probably consider dubbing myself into French.
So before I will reply, just to note that our link to this tool is in the description of the video or description of the podcast episode if you are listening to audio. But one thing that I was going to say is that it's all well and good, but actually a lot of people don't go into trouble of uploading foreign language subtitles, so that data will not be automatically available unless you have gone into trouble of meticulously uploading translated transcriptions into each video. So there is a little bit of a guessing game, I think, that you will have to make as to which niche should I do, should I go for this language, that language. And then there is a question like, should this be uploaded on your main YouTube channel, or should you create a different YouTube channel for that different language? So you see, and I think that the answers will be unique to everybody out there. I don't think that there is a one-size-fits-all solution to this. I do think with dubbing, this is really interesting. I grew up in Poland, so all the American movies were dubbed on TV. But it was always really interesting because there was this, there were one or two voiceover artists who clearly swooped all the work available. So you would have, this guy going in and translating word for word, but kind of completely emotionless without anything. It was like, blah, blah. It was really weird stuff. Now thinking about it, you just took it for granted as a kid, but actually it's not a great experience for somebody who's watching a movie, right? Because you are missing out on the emotions, the inflections, and and all sorts of other things. So all of that, all of a sudden, it's like that's gone. And would they go as far as translating videos, like videos as in like movies? When you have a score movie, would they go in and allow for AI to manipulate the face of an actor to allow for that? I mean, wow, it's like it's wow, right? You can see why Hollywood is on strike. Because that affects a lot of people.
Yeah, and here's a description of the app that we've been using throughout this particular episode. You can use HeyGen's AI to translate your videos into any language with precision. Avoid unsatisfactory dubbing with advanced lip syncing and voice clones capable of mimicking a wide range of accents, tones, and emotions. And I know under the hood they are actually using 11 Labs. We've spoken about them before, a very accurate and cool AI voice cloner and generator. So it's very, very interesting to see exactly where this is going, what it's going to mean, especially as I'm sure you'll be interested in how much does this cost?
Yeah, the costs, I guess, and it will be interesting to see how that develops over time. So if you could, please use our affiliate link. That would be very much appreciated. It is mrc.fm/AI video translator, mrc.fm/AI video translator. But the cost-wise, so the plan, you get free 1 credit, which gets you 1 minute. So if you have a short, for example, that you wanted to translate, you can have it as a freebie and use that, which is fab. And then it's $2 per minute for up to 5 minutes duration. But then you can buy credits, and something like $30 for 15 credits / minutes. But then there are business packages when you pay $3 per minute, up to 20-minute video duration. And then it sort of goes up from there. So you can have a look. So costs is not low, but then if you think how much you would need to pay somebody to translate the video, then somebody to record the audio, and then somebody to auto-sync it into your video, right? Like, you would pay way more than that. So, the cost is actually really low compared to how much service like that would cost. But in reality, I don't know whether they will be able to run it at that level for long. As in, the moment some alternatives come in, I think that they will drive the price down.
Yeah, so let's summarize a little bit what you've just said there, Isabella, on cost. You're right, this is going to be replicated by other companies. Google announced at their Google I/O conference that they are actually working on this as well. So it's no secret that the big tech companies are also working on lip sync voice translation that matches a video perfectly. But let's really break this down. So the cost is probably only going to get cheaper and maybe even free when YouTube hops on board and does this maybe automatically in the future. Who knows? To give you an example from the costings that Isabella gave you of this particular app, to take this podcast that's about 20 minutes in duration and translate it to Spanish essentially costs us $40 to do. It's $2 per minute, so $40 to get the translation, the voice clones, the lip syncing, everything. I think that is pretty incredible. And like Isabella said, you can get a business plan where it's $3 per minute. Okay, so that would cost $60, and the extras you get on the business plan are you get API access. So if you wanted to somehow automate it, you could use their API. You can use your brand kit as well under the business banner as well. So that allows you to maybe put a logo in the corner or something like that. And also you get 4K with the business plan. So if I wanted to spend $60, I could get this podcast dubbed in 4K quality, which I think is pretty insane. But as it happens for this particular show, as a use case example, to mimic kind of what Spotify are doing for audio only at the moment, I'm using the creator plan, so $2 a minute, $40 to make an English and Spanish version of this podcast, which I think is pretty cool.
I think it is quite cool indeed, and there will be lots of developments in this space. I think that this story is just starting to write itself, genuinely. But it's a very exciting start. I mean, just, the use cases are so many. Like, if you think about actually so many use cases, courses, online courses, like all of a sudden you can have all your videos on courses auto-translated to different languages. Isn't that amazing in terms of accessibility for people? Like, and obviously the list goes on and on and on. I'm quite sure that we haven't even thought of certain things, and it's like mind-blowing.
Now, there are some other things that HeyGen can do, by the way. This is an experimental feature that's available in their labs section at the moment. You may ask, Isabella, what actually is HeyGen's bread and butter? How did they come to be before the whole AI video translation thing came about? Interested? So Video Translate is one feature, but the main thing they do is talking lifelike avatars. I've made some shorts where you can upload a photo of someone and you can animate their lips and make them move, a little bit like DID do as well. DID is another artificial intelligence company based in Tel Aviv in Israel, and they do that very well. HeyGen also does that, but they got other stuff as well. They've got Canva for presentations, so you can link it to Canva and do stuff. They've got a Chat GPT plugin. They've got Face Swap as well. I haven't tested the one, that sounds weird. Text to image, and also get this one, they've got URL to video. You can do URL to video. Now you might say, well, what is URL to video? So you can take any link from the internet, paste it into HeyGen, and it will generate an animated video based on the link. So if you give it a blog post, it's going to make a video based around that blog post. If you put in an Amazon link, it's going to make a video. Now, I want to prepare you here, Isabella, as one of the final things we're going to do. I was going to say, do you want to know how that feature works? Do you want to hear it in action? Or see it if you're watching the podcast? So what it can do is it can make, and be ready not to be impressed here, it's a bit like those old school affiliate videos you used to see on YouTube saying, hello, I'd like to talk to you about this product. So I just tested it out. I grabbed the Amazon link to the Mackie DLZ Creator, which is the audio mixer I use here in my studio. And I pasted it into HeyGen's URL to video, and it made a video. So let's listen to how it describes the Mackie DLZ. And it does a little animated video with images of the product coming on screen and a talking avatar as well. So have a little listen to this.
Hello, I'm happy to introduce to you our product, Mackie DLZ Creator Adaptive Digital Mixer for Podcasting. Create with confidence. The DLZ Creator Adaptive Digital Mixer for podcasting and streaming is the perfect tool for creating high-quality audio on your own terms, quickly and easily. The price for Mackie DLZ Creator Adaptive Digital Mixer for podcasting starts at £679 sterling. Scan this QR code to check out.
I love how abruptly the music ends.
Yeah, it's not going to win any awards for producing right now, but it's got the basic thing there. It's obviously scraped what's on the URL and turned it into a little video. It was a British accent, so they said Z instead of Z. So that's just a slight finicky thing with what I picked there. It obviously gives the price in British pounds because I pulled it from Amazon UK. Interested to see how that one develops. Maybe we'll only see that feature grow in time, but it's not the flagship feature of HeyGen, though.
But it's phenomenal, and I'm really interested to know how you are planning to use it. What will be the use case for you? Like, will you use this? Are you going to try that 1 minute free credit? Make sure to grab it at mrc.fm/
AI video translator is where you need to go.
So make sure to go and have a quick look at that, and let us know in the comments to this episode how that went for you. Like, what language did you decide to use? I would love to know, what was the process that went through your mind to decide which video am I going to try it on and what language I'm going to go for. So let us know in the comments below.
Thank you so much, Isabella. It's been a great episode. And finally, I'd just like to say to you, if you've made it all the way through to the end of this podcast in Spanish and it's made sense to you, if you've made it this far, leave us a special comment, and you can leave it in Spanish so that we know that you listened or watched the Spanish version of this podcast, and you can tell us what you thought of the translation, whether it was any good, did it capture all the emotion and nuances of what we were describing today. Would love to hear from you on that in the comments as well. And in general, if you're enjoying this show, we'd love it if you would share it with a friend or tell a friend, particularly in the Spanish-speaking world, about this show, AI Tools for Creators. A like and a subscribe would also be very much appreciated wherever you get your podcasts.